delicious.
Hi, I'm Logan Shaner,
And I'm Ben Van Camp.
and we're here for Connection Interrupted to review Mirror's Edge.
Right now we're on the loading screen. Just to wait. Oh, there it is.
Mirror's Edge came out in 2008. Its developer was DICE. They're best known for their Battlefield franchise.
And their engines.
Yeah, the Frostbite 2.0 engine is going to be utilized in Battlefield 3. It's a pretty groundbreaking engine. The sequel to Mirror's Edge, which hasn't really been talked about that much, we actually had to do research to see if it was even coming out, and after a little bit of research we figured out that it is indeed in progress. It utilizes the Frostbite 2.0 engine.
So we know that's going to be really good. Because even this engine, you can see just how beautiful this game is.
Right, and this game is almost 3 years old, and it looks this good.
Most games just, they don't even look close to that back then.
And it's just it really does look really good for a game that's a few years old. That's why we decided to review it for our first game. It's relatively it's an older game, but it had great critic scores and looks fantastic, but it just didn't match up with sales.
It's because it was something like new. Like most people are playing online shooters and stuff. That was really the most popular. So they didn't play games like this, which are its own category, really that much.
I mean, there really isn't any game that's like this. It's very unique, and it's not standard to the first-person shooter or a fighting game or a racing game. It's really its own mix.
And if you didn't know, it's more of like a parkour or like free running, as more people know it. That's the type of game.
Yeah, it's not even focused on combat, really. Like, in the tutorial, you're told that, if there's too many of them, just run, and that is utilized a lot in this game. It's not really focused on guns. There are guns, you can pick them up, you can shoot people, but guns aren't the main focus. Bigger guns slow you down, and you can't run as fast, so it's almost a waste to pick up bigger guns.
The first time I played this game, I always tried to fight people, and it never really worked out for me.
Yeah, the combat is a little clunky to some people, which I guess is just a learning curve, but I feel like after you get good at it, it's still, even if you're good at the combat, it's still just kind of a waste to fight when you've got 5 or 6 guys. It's easier just to run from them.
And even if you do like multiple playthroughs of this, there's different ways to go about each part of the game, so it's different every time you play it.
I feel like the sequence we're looking at right now was utilized a lot in the game, where you're being chased and shot at, and you have this rushed feeling of needing to get out. I feel like that came about several times during the game, and they utilized it well, because it gave you that sense of urgency that you needed to run and you needed to jump over things fast and go through things fast.
And like the music in this game, like just everything, it just lined up perfectly with the adrenaline moments like this.
I think he brought up a good point that the music really did play a lot into a game, and it plays a lot into every game. If you don't have good music, you don't have a good game.
Or just good sound in general, really.
Yeah, sound is a big thing. It's another thing DICE is good at, is sound. If you look at their Battlefield franchise, their sound has always been fantastic.
Like on this, you can just hear like the feet hitting up against the wall, or like when you're walking on metal, like right here, you could hear like the little whomp, or whatever you want to call it, that's made when you walk on like this thin metal or whatever.
Some people complain that the colors in the game are a little too brilliant to be realistic, but I feel like the colors were used well. It kind of gave the game a vibrant feeling and utilized the engine well with the colors. Like right here, you can see all the orange on the side of that building, and the orange on the building you're down to the left, and I feel like that really made the game look great, but some people disagreed with that.
And there's another part of the graphics right there. Is the helicopter shooting at you. You just see the bullets fly by you, and just another epic moment.
The slow motion right there was actually activated by I was playing, and it was actually activated by me. It's as you move and as you jump, a meter fills up until it's full, and then your screen will flash blue, and all you have to do is press X or square, and it'll slow the game down for a few seconds, and it can give you that chance to jump over something that's giving you trouble, or dispatch an enemy that is taking you out, anything like that. Like right there's that flash.
Yeah, right there, that just shows you when you can do the slow-mo, right?
Yeah, that shows you that you can do it.
Yeah, okay.
And if you can see the only part of your HUD is the crosshair in the middle of your screen. It when it's done, it'll flow up with a slight blue line that you can see.
If you're like more a first-person shooter type person like me, this game will seem really weird because there's not a lot of combat or anything, but I still found it really fun.
You know, I feel like this game was written off by a lot of people because it came out right around the time of Call of Duty 4 and World at War, and it was just written off because, oh, well, it's not a shooter, I don't want to play it. And I feel like this game really did something that no other game has done or was doing at the time, and it was really looked over, which is a shame because I feel like it's a great game.
And like most people still now, first-person shooters are still the most popular. Even like third-person shooters like Gears of War 3, everybody seemed excited for it, but now people have basically forgotten about it. Well, it seems like that to me.
Well, I mean, the first-person formula, it works, but if you're a more into gaming, then obviously it gets a little stale after a while. After the 5 years that almost it have been since Call of Duty 4 came out. And it's like, I want something new, and this is something new that came out a few years ago that everyone overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know about it until like maybe a year ago, and I still didn't pick it up until this year.
I feel like it really did utilize stuff that no other game had done, and that's why we chose it as our first review because it was overlooked, and it was a game that was fantastic. It scored great with critics, and it just, like I said before, it didn't meet up with sales.
I remember like seeing the trailer and I thought like, hey, that game looks kind of cool, but I didn't really know what it was about or anything, and so I just never really paid much attention.
One thing that I did have to gripe about with this game was that loading level right there. That really slowed down the pace. It just, the whole time you're feeling rushed and you're wanting to go fast, and that just slowed down the pace a lot.
And so did like the elevators and stuff, like right there. The elevators just kind of, they're boring.
It was masking load times, obviously, if you know anything about gaming, but I feel like they were too long, and it just really stopped your flow in the game and really slowed you down.
I really like the graphics in this game, but like you like how the colors are, I really don't because everything's just too white.
Right, I feel like it's to each their own. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I personally did, and Ben didn't, and that's that. I feel like did it feel like that took away from the gameplay for you?
No, it didn't take away from the gameplay. It just kind of the areas kind of got boring in color to me.
Right, it's just it's not. It doesn't really take away from your game experience. It just looks. I take that back. It does take away from your experience if it doesn't look visually good to you. But I mean, do you feel like it really ruined the game for you at all?
No, it didn't ruin it at all. Just kind of me being nitpicky.
Right, and some people are very nitpicky. I am very much so with shooters. I nitpick them.
Like right here, there's another like loading time, and that's it can get annoying. But
it was only a few seconds, but yeah. when you're in the heat of the game, it feels like forever.
Yeah, like right here, he could have just ran away from this guy, but he decided to take him out.
And here I'm shooting at the guy, and I just decided it's not worth my time. When you have a gun, you always have the option to throw it away, and up here in a few seconds you'll see that I did in fact throw it away because even the pistol does slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, so like other guns like a shotgun or like an automatic, they slow you down a lot, so it slows down the pace and basically just how you move about.
And it's there's certain parts that are impossible to do with a gun, with a larger gun. You might be able to get away with a pistol, but like a shotgun or an assault rifle, it's not going to happen.
And there might just be way too many people, so you get overwhelmed, and then you end up having a heavy gun. You can't run away, and then you just have to start over.
I feel like the sequences that you'll see up here in a few seconds, they were really well put together. It was seamless to go from gameplay to I don't want to say cutscene because the cutscenes in this game are definitely different, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Right here, I no longer have control when I fell through that glass. And
yeah, like in the top left it says click back, like select or whatever system you're playing on to skip, then that indicates a cutscene.
Okay, so we're continuing our review. The next gameplay you're going to see is actually Ben playing. And
I'm really just terrible at this game.
Yeah, you'll definitely see a difference in the gameplay between me and Ben. I'm by no means excellent at this game, but I am better than Ben. But that's not saying much, Yeah. I still am not very good at the time trials because they're difficult.
And like, there's other game modes besides just campaign, like time trials, and time trials lead to leaderboards and online things such as that.
Another thing I want to bring up with Dice is if you look right now, it's just visually stunning. You know, this game came out 3 years ago and it looks fantastic.
You're about to see that right here. And there you are.
It's like, you know, no game does that. I haven't seen a game do that ever.
It feels like every moment's just epic, and other games they do it so they pace it out, but this game's always like on edge, if you want to say it like that.
What I was talking about the cutscenes earlier. The cutscenes in this game are almost like anime, and I feel like it takes away from the experience of the game a lot. That was probably my biggest gripe with this game was the cutscenes.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Right, they were terrible. Period. I don't know if it was budgeting or they were trying to get the game out by a certain deadline, but it took away from the game completely.
The writing wasn't bad at all, but like the cutscene, the animation, it made me feel like I was watching a TV show, really, not even a game.
And it really took away from the gameplay a whole lot.
It's like you'll see right here, I kind of mess up, like.
He wanted to jump to that pipe, but that clearly didn't work.
And something I like is the checkpoints. Like right here, it starts me over at the right spot, and that's another good thing about this. It doesn't really punish you that much for messing up.
The checkpoints are nice. They're not too far back, so you get frustrated, but they're at a point where you can go back and you can do it again. One thing that I liked about this game was it was linear, but to a certain aspect it wasn't. How you had to get that red door up there, but how you did it most of the time was your choice. But this part right here, for example, you can't jump to the shorter pipe. You'll see that up here in a second. And they always bragged about trying to make it was linear, but how you got there was different, which is kind of an oxymoron. But if you play the game, you'll understand that.
Like right here.
He should be able to grab one of that pipe, but the game doesn't allow him, which I feel like really took away from their whole advertising of you can get there how you want.
And like, if you didn't notice before, we're seeing a lot of red highlighted items.
The red, it's a mechanic they use in the game, so obviously you don't know exactly where you're going, but the red helps you out. It's called runner's vision. It's apparently what the character in the game sees the world as. The things aren't actually red. I don't know about the doors. They might be red. Who knows? Probably not because all these doors are white. But yeah, that's apparently their runner vision. It's their mechanic to help you through the level. You in the hardest difficulty of the game, it's actually disabled automatically. So it's just that much more difficult.
Yeah, like right here, there's some puzzling parts. It's not always just run. Like right here, I didn't really know where to go, but then I look around, I figure it out, and then I move on.
Right, I feel like Portal comes to mind when I think of this game. It's just Portal wasn't really that action-packed. It was more of a puzzle game, and this game sort of finds a happy medium between puzzles and an action game. Up here is another example of not being combat focused. There's 4 guys, and Ben was going to try and attack them and decided not to, and he died.
Didn't really work out for me. And then I learned to run.
And that's exactly what he did. It's enforcing the mechanic that you don't always have to fight, and sometimes you won't fight or you'll die.
And like right here, I just kind of skipped those other stairs just to get up there faster. I mean, you can just take the stairs, but that's just kind of boring.
Once you get good at the game and you play the level a few times, you'll find all these little tricks and ways you can get through things faster.
Like your first playthrough, like for me, it took me a while at some parts to figure out where I was supposed to go. And
once you learn the level, you can get through it quickly. And I think I got the campaign down to 4 hours, but my first campaign was almost 9. So,
I'm still not done with the campaign right now. I'm more like halfway through it, I think, but I think I'll finish it soon.
I feel like the campaign story was lacking a little bit. It really wasn't that it wasn't that great, but I feel like the game honestly isn't about the story really. I mean, what's it about? It's about running and getting places and jumping over things.
And most of the time I just skip the cutscenes.
I feel like the story really was lacking. I feel like they could have done a little bit of a better job, but I really don't have a gripe with this game because it just looks stunning and it plays awesome.
We don't know if they had like a time problem or maybe a budget or something.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume they had a budget problem because the cutscenes were lacking and that they were cheap to make the way they did.
Or maybe they just like that style and the general public didn't really agree with it.
Yeah, that could also be it. But I feel like it probably had a budget problem or a deadline that they had to meet, and they just decided to throw it together and focus more on gameplay, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, there's games that don't really focus on a story like Battlefield. I mean, I can't remember the last time a Battlefield had a stunning campaign.
I kind of like the Bad Company 2 campaign, but just seemed to drag on. But this game, the campaign it's not short, but it's not long, which is always good.
You know, you can see here Ben messed up a few times and he decided just to jump off a building and restart and try it again, more fluid.
And that's what's always good about this game. You can't really get that frustrated if you get stuck or something. You just kind of jump off a building, even if that's kind of morbid or something, but you can just start over.
Not saying that jumping off a building is fantastic, but if you just want to start over, it's the way to go.
Yeah, it's just a video game. It's not real life.
Exactly.
Okay. There's another part I messed up.
I like the falling sequences. When you're playing it, the camera shakes, so it gives the appearance of you falling faster. I like how that visual looks.
Yeah, but you learn as you go. Like I messed up so much when I first started out. It frustrated me a little bit, but as I kept playing, I got better.
I feel like the learning curve for this game just keeps going up. Even when you feel like you've improved a lot, there's still plenty of room for improvement. Whereas certain games like Call of Duty, the learning curve isn't very high. You get past it, and then you get past that initial curve, and then it's over.
Yeah, because those games are more multiplayer oriented, and there's always like an overpowered gun that the general public doesn't seem to agree with. But this game's more campaign oriented, which normally the campaigns for those, since they're campaign oriented, are way better.
Yeah, I feel like Call of Duty utilizes a crutch weapon a lot, which is a gun that you can't play well without, and if you can't play well without that gun, then you're not a very skilled player. And this game really doesn't have that. It doesn't have a crutch for the campaign that makes you better. You just have to learn and do it.
It's either you're good or you're not in this game, really.
Here it is, utilize another chase sequence again. They really used that up a lot, but I feel like it was never out of taste. It always gave me that urgency to go.
And here's another scene that kind of makes you feel epic, just hanging on to a helicopter.
So that's our review from Mirror's Edge. I'm Logan Shaner.
And I'm Ben Van Camp.
And we'll see you later.